Good day, everybody. Today is Tuesday, March the 24th, and it is 2:19 p.m. We're going to start off with a sound saying, as always. It's coming from Judges 6:16. Surely I will be with thee. Surely I will be with thee in all our troubles. God is with us in all our troubles. Okay? The back of it is coming from Psalms 91, verse 7. It says, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. I'll repeat that one again. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Alright? So don't worry about what's going on. Don't be careless, but don't be concerned, because as the word say, it shall not come nigh thee. Okay? It's in the back. We're reading from Ecclesiastes today. Ecclesiastic means assembler. In the Greek, it is called kohilic. Kohilic. And the Christians translated that to teacher or preacher. Okay? Ecclesiastic means assembler, or kohilic in the Greek. And it's been translated to mean teacher or preacher. Right? Alright, we're going to do chapter 4 today. But I believe this is the first time this year that we have read from the book of Ecclesiastes. You know how I like to give you an introduction into the book. Yep, it is our first reading for this year, so we must get a introduction. Gives you a little history about the book we're reading. Okay, there's an air of uncertainty when it comes to the book of Ecclesiastic, but the author here is probably, that's what it says, probably Solomon. Dates written between 940 and 935 BC. Time span unknown, probably during the latter years of Solomon's reign. So, like I said, there's an air of uncertainty in the writing of the book of Ecclesiastes. Title. This title comes from the Greek meaning preacher. All right. The background. Though the author has a life full of pleasure, wealth, power, and prestige, he still seeks happiness. So money doesn't make you happy. Money just provides for your necessities, and the more money you have, the better you can provide for those necessities. Some people who have a great deal of money can make those necessities greater. Like instead of buying a $150,000 house, they're going to have a $22 million house. Okay, you don't need a house that expensive, but if that's what you want, that's what you want. Okay, so it just helps us provide for our basic needs, and it kind of gives you the ability to do more. Money really is supposed to, like the book said, to whom much is given, much is expected. So money is really supposed to be a source for you to help others, not to help yourself. Okay? So that's what you ought to use the money for. If you have a great deal of money, if you're among the rich, the more people you can help. But the rich tend to be very selfish. They're so selfish that some rich folks can have children, and the book tells you about your inheritance, how you are to distribute the inheritance upon your death. Let me read it to you, because I've heard and experienced where people have taken their children's inheritance and did that which they weren't supposed to do with the inheritance. Your inheritance go to your children, brothers and sisters. It goes to your children. Okay, that's what the Bible said. We are to distribute it to our children. We are not to give it to strangers. You're not to give it to a charity. If you have sons, daughters, you give it to your sons and your daughters. If you don't have sons and daughters, then you give it to the next kin folks. That's where the inheritance going. Just to verify this, because it's quite upsetting to hear a rich man say he will not leave his children any inheritance. That's evil and wicked. All right? It speaks about it in Numbers chapter 27. I wrote a few verses of it. Okay, Numbers 27:8. And thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, if a man dies and has no sons, then ye shall cause his inheritance to pass on to his daughters. Okay, not every man has a son, but some have daughters. So if you have a daughter, that inheritance goes to her. If you have many daughters, it is divided among your daughters. And I think I've spoken on this before. If you have a wife and a concubine or a girlfriend, the children of your wife get a greater portion of your inheritance than the children of your baby mamas. But you can't discount those children because they are your seed. And they are rightfully entitled to part of the inheritance, but not the greater portion. The children of your wife is entitled to a greater portion. We spoke about this before. Okay? Numbers 27:9. And if he has no daughters, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brother. God deals with every aspect of man's life. There's nothing that we could deal with that God has not put in his book to tell us how to deal with it. Okay? So if he has no daughters, then the inheritance goes to his brother. Okay? And it goes on, and I'll read it to you. Numbers 27:9. And if he has no daughters, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his brother. 27:10. And if he has no brethren, then he shall give his inheritance unto his father's brother, if his father's brother is still alive. Okay? 27:11. And if his father has no brother, then ye shall give an inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel. That includes all mankind, not just the children of Israel. Okay, because we all belong to God. Whether you're a Jew or a Gentile, we belong to God. And these laws apply to both Jews and Gentiles. Okay? So, if he has no brother, then ye shall give his inheritance unto his kinsman that is next to him of his family, and he shall possess it. And it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of judgment, as the Lord commanded Moses. This is long ago. There is nothing we can deal with in our lifetime that is not written in the book. Okay? It doesn't say you are to give the inheritance to a charity. I've heard people giving their inheritance to their dog. And the dog was mined by a friend. Though they had a daughter, okay, that is wicked. But then again, that's what it's all about today. Wickedness. Having our way. Doing what we want to do. Okay. Now you know the truth. You are to give your inheritance to your children. If you have no wife, then it goes to your children who are by your girlfriend or whoever you have had children by. They are entitled to that inheritance. It is not for you to be concerned about how they're gonna spend the money. They might take and do more good with the money than you did. But in all reality, it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't get rid of that money before you die, those children, all they have to do is prove that they are your son or your daughter and deal with it in court. Period. All right, let's go into the reading. We're going to be reading from Ecclesiastic, and I'm going to finish the introduction. Background. Though the author has a full life of pleasure, wealth, power, and prestige, he still seeks happiness. The majority of Ecclesiastic is probably written as Solomon analyzes past failures and apostases in his life. We all do that as we get older. We consider our mistakes, our victories. We ponder over our life. Okay, that is something all man does. Where written probably Jerusalem, to whom primarily to young people and to those considered pupils of the elders. Contents. The book of Ecclesiastic begins with the author sharing his reasons for viewing life as meaningless, futile, and full of vanity. His thoughts contend that despite man's labor, attainment, popularity, or possession, death awaits all, man and beast alike. All right? He realizes that there is a time and a season for all things, but does not know how man can fully understand when these times are relevant. The confession of pessimism eventually gives way to the truth that there is no joy for man apart from his Creator. The author realizes and enthusiastically proclaims the answer: satisfaction, meaning, and happiness does not come from attainment of life, but from the Lord of life, period. All right? Key words in the book of Ecclesiastic is vanity, ambitions. Without God, there is no sense to be made out of our lives. All is vanity, emptiness, hopelessness. Our earthly ambitions will continually frustrate and disappoint us if we seek them as an end to ourselves. All right? Themes, PowerPoints, don't need to be proven. All right? First one, earthly goals apart from God will not bring us happiness. Truth. Next, money will not bring us happiness. Truth. Next, fame will not bring us happiness. Power will not bring us happiness. Accomplishments will not bring us happiness. Human wisdom will not bring us happiness. A life that is totally submissive and devoted to God will bring happiness. Can you know God and have money? Absolutely. You will use it differently. You will help more people. You will have less people among your family members who are without, who are in lack. Some people become famous and forget their parents. Forget they have siblings. Totally selfish. All right. A youthful life obedient to God will bring joy to our latter years. A youthful life obedient to God will bring joy to our latter years. A youthful life disobedient to God will bring sorrow to our latter years. We ought to enjoy life even though at times we will have trouble. Just because we know the Lord don't mean trouble will not come our way. It simply means we will handle it differently. There are many things that we experience through life that if we were a little closer to the Lord at the time, we would have handled it differently. And I'm talking from experience. Okay? Because then we do it His way and not our way. Our way can be destructive. It can be full of bitterness. His way is always better than our way. It is a man to irk, but it's divine to forgive. So if you know the Lord, you're more likely to forgive. If you know Him not, forgiveness is something you will not do. Bitterness, you would rather be in bitterness than to forgive a person. Okay? But it is divine to forgive. It is divine. Alright? Okay, so it doesn't say we won't have trouble. We would just handle it differently. We'll handle our enemies differently. Our enemies, we're more likely to give them to God because we know that He can avenge us better than we can avenge ourselves. God doesn't forget nothing. And if you think He's forgotten, it's okay to remind Him. All right? The closer we walk with God, the more aware we become of His blessings in our lives. This is so true. If we're far away from God, we think everything we have obtained on our own accord, which is foolish. Whatever gift you have, it is something He has given thee. If your gift is to be an actor, He has given you that gift. If your gift is to be a doctor and create something that helps mankind, God has given you that cunningness. We give ourselves nothing. Okay? The closer we walk with God, the more aware we become of His blessing in our lives. Today could be our last day on earth. We should view it as a precious gift from God. Right? Life is a gift. All right? This is why I get so upset when a person commits a horrendous crime and the world thinks that they have punished them by giving them life. Life is a gift. They have taken away someone else's gift, but yet they're entitled to keep theirs. And you think that's a punishment, when death is the punishment. That's a greater punishment. Okay? Let's go on to our reading for chapter 4, oppression without comforters. That's what chapter 4 says. Comfort in companionship. Okay, this is a very short verse. I think 16 verses. Yeah, 16 verses. Got some great colors in here. Pink for witnessing, yellow for family, and one verse of black. Verse 4 is black. Okay, we'll read it both from the rainbow and my international version here. Okay, the first 3 verses are pink. I will just read them straight away. So I return and consider all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and behold the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter. As it is today. Today we're in a situation, and when I listen to the news, the politicians are more concerned with the economy rather than being concerned with the people of the land. People are being sent home. People are losing their checks. Yet they have bills that are still coming in. They have mortgages. Okay. You ought to be more concerned with what the people are dealing with, not the economy. The economy will rebalance. Getting voters to come out to vote for you is the least of the worries of these politicians. That should be their worry. Okay, bailing out the airlines should not be among the concerns. Getting supplies where it's needed should be the greatest concern. Okay, this is what it says. And they had no comforter, and on the side of the oppressors there was power, but they had no comforters. Okay, 2. Wherefore I praise the dead which are already dead more than the living which are yet alive. Yea, better is he that both they which has not yet been, who has not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. Let's read it from here. Oppression, toll, friendliness. Again, I looked and saw all the oppressors that were taking place under the sun. I saw the tears of the oppressed, and they had no comforter. Power was on the side of the oppressors, and they had no comforter. Am I reading the right one? Yes. 3. 2. And I declare that the dead who are already dead are happier than the living who are still alive. 3. But better than both is he who has not yet been, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. Verse 4 is that only black verse we had, and it says, again, I consider all trivials and every right work, that for this a man is envied of his neighbor. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. You should never be envy of your neighbor. Even if your neighbor has a $50 million house up on the hill, you are not to be envying your neighbor. Okay? 4. And I saw that all labor and all achievement spring from man's envy of his neighbor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. 5. to 5 to 8 is pink for witnessing. The foolish folds his hands together and eats his own flesh. 6. Better is a handful with quietness than both the hands full with trivial and vexation of spirit. Absolutely. It's better to be sitting by yourself, eating peaceably, than be at a feast with chaos all around the table. Okay? That's vexation of spirit. Better than is a handful with quietness than both the hands full with trivial and vexation of spirit. 7. Then I returned and I saw vanity under the sun. 8. There is one alone, and there is not a second. Yet he has neither child nor brother, yet is there no end of all his labor. Neither is his eye satisfied with riches. Neither saith he, for whom do I labor, and better my soul of good? This is also vexation, vanity, yea, it is a sore trivial. All right, let's take it from 5 to 8. The fool folds his hand and ruins himself. Better the one handful with tranquility than 2 handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. 7. Again, I saw something meaningless under the sun. 8. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil. Yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I despising myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. All right? Verse 9 to 12 is yellow for family. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. 2 is always better than 1. If you're digging a hole by yourself, if someone else comes to help thee, you dig that hole faster. It's easier. Life is always easier with 2 than 1. Even if you're out in the Arctic, if you're by yourself, you're more likely to die. If there's someone else with you, you're more likely to stay warm, huddled up together. Why do you think the penguins do it? They all huddle together to stay warm. Okay? 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. 10. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he has not another to help him up. 11. Again, if 2 lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? Like the penguins. With them huddled together as a massive group, they keep warm. Okay? And if 1 prevail against him, 2 shall withstand him, and a 80 is not quickly broken. All right, let's read it from 9 to 12 here. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their work. 10. If 1 falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Exclamation mark there. 12. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can 1 keep warm alone? All right, 12. Though 1 may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is so true. Though 1 may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 stands is not quickly broken. Absolutely. Okay? 13 to 16, paying for witnessing. Better is a poor and wise child than an old and foolish king who will no more be admonished. 14. For out of prison he cometh to rage, whereas also he that is born in his kingdom becometh poor. 15. I consider all the living which walk under the sun, with the second child that shall stand up in his stead. 16. There is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this also is vanity and vexation of spirit. Let's take it from here. 13 to 16. Advancement is meaningless. That's what it says in this Bible. Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king who no longer knows how to take warnings. 14. The youth may have come from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. 15. I saw that all who lived and walked under the sun followeth the youth, the king's successor. 16. There is no end to all people who were before them, but those who came later were not pleased with the successor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. That is all for today. And as always, thank you very much for listening to the Word of God with us. As always, may the peace of God be upon you. May the protection of God surround you. And may the will of God come from you. And this will be a good time, America. Or everybody. To learn to repent. And get closer to God. Because the closer you are to God, the less worried you are about what's going on around you. Okay? Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful day.